mean, if you have to make a certain quantity and you maybe don't have manufacturing facilities, you want to get to market, going to a high titer allows you to make that particular quantity in a smaller scale. So you can actually, you now have basically several options. You can go to a CMO and occupy relatively little of their production time, which makes it cheaper. You should. You can build your own small facility, maybe at 1/10 of the cost that a legacy scale facility would be with 10,000 liter bioreactors in it. Or you can eventually partner up. Like in some countries in Asia, we see that there's one point where manufacturing capability is being built, not a classic CMO maybe, but where you can go and do things at larger scale. It makes everything much more flexible. You have the option to apply single-use technology. Interestingly, many people think that single use is the reason for scaling down, but it's the other way around. I mean, you scale down first and then you can use single use and have the advantage from it. Better cash flow later, spending nearer to the point where you actually have revenue from your products as well. Faster response to changing environments as well. So basically everything speaks for higher titer in combination with scale down. Some of the large companies are now pursuing this as well. I believe the Amgen facility, for example, in Singapore, that is soon going to open, is an application of that and doesn't use the classic 6-pack of 10,000 or 15,000 liter reactors anymore. Everything is driven by the market, okay? So your business case comes first. You analyze how much of a market you can access, either locally where you are based. For example, in India, if that's your home country, the market seems to be huge, but the population that can afford biologics is maybe relatively small. So you have to do a thorough analysis of that. Who are your competitors? How can you actually penetrate parts of the market against them fighting you back? And then you have to make a conscious decision how much you want to make, how much you want to plan into the future for growth, and then adjust the size of your facility accordingly. Many people that I'm visiting have plans to build huge, because everyone in the past has been doing that. I'm seeing that in many cases that's probably not realistic. So big enough or good enough is some sort of right-sized approach where you don't spend money for manufacturing capacity unnecessarily, but you really use your cash in a smarter way and with a good business plan that gets you to a good growth gradually, rather than pre-invest into it and then maybe never experience it. Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of large facilities that have been built in the late 90s, early 2000s, and in quite a few of them, improvement is going on, keeping them alive, keeping them efficient, and even putting more products and also more mass through them. Basically, these products that are there already, they do scale up, they grow. And I think that what I usually refer to this as smart engineering. People are automating, people are removing, say, not productive activities from the facility. A major example is storage and preparation of buffers and culture media solutions in huge tanks. The tank farms for doing that are bigger than the bioreactor farms that they're having. And they're anywhere between 20% and 30% of their cost in manufacturing also going into these activities. And at the same time, they sometimes, when you improve the process on titer, these tank farms become a facility fit issue, because in spite of how big they are, they're still not big enough. And so automating, for example, buffer preparation, removing the need to store buffers and dilute huge volumes is one of those things. Basically, in that case, you connect a buffer making machine right to your chromatography or filtration skid and remove the tanks more or less, or make them tenfold smaller maybe. So that's one example. Another one is to connect steps so that you don't have to bring up the intermediate product after one step into a tank, adjust it there and wait for a while and then go to the next step. If you actually go right through from step to step without storage in between, that can save half or maybe even more of the time that is being spent with the classic process design. And so you basically get a higher productivity out of the same facility. And those, what I would call smart engineering improvements, are maybe even more efficient than maybe scaling up through more higher, tighter, etc., or building a new facility, which would be very cash intensive, obviously also. Well, I think this is one of the meetings where over here in the United States, and actually even in Europe and nowadays also in China, Korea, you can essentially meet what is the essence of our customer group. I mean, there are always some new people here, but it's ideal for networking. It's one place, all the different disciplines that we deal with in our business: cell culture, downstream processing, analytics, etc. and you can get an impression of what the latest stuff is that they deal with, or that they at least want to talk about, put it that way. I mean, it's not always the same. And then you can meet them, ask questions, and also at the same time, I would say, you guys have one of the best exhibitions, typically at least. I haven't seen this year's, but the last years it was always like that. Very concentrated again. Everyone's there, so you can get an easy impression of what's going on among our peers as a supply industry.